Marcus Chen checked his translator for the third time, even though he already knew it was working perfectly. It wasn't the device he was worried about. It was himself. The meeting chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony was enormous, designed to impress visitors from every known civilization. Towering walls of white alloy curved upward until they vanished into a ceiling hidden by soft blue light. Holographic stars drifted slowly overhead, making the room feel less like a conference hall and more like a piece of the cosmos itself. Today, history would be made here. Humanity's first official meeting with the Zephyrians. Marcus wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't a politician or a military officer. He was a xenobiologist. A scientist whose job was simply to answer questions if discussions turned toward alien ecosystems or comparative biology. In theory, he wasn't important. That knowledge did absolutely nothing to calm his nerves. The chamber doors opened precisely on schedule. Every conversation stopped. Every eye turned. The Zephyrians entered. Marcus had studied hundreds of images and countless hours of recorded footage, but none of it prepared him for seeing them in person. They were elegant in a way that felt almost unreal. Tall and graceful, with skin covered in tiny silver scales that caught the light and scattered it like liquid starlight. Their dark eyes reflected everything around them, giving them an almost ethereal appearance. Even their movements seemed impossible, smooth and effortless, as though gravity treated them differently than everyone else. And then Princess Lyra entered. For a moment, Marcus forgot to breathe. She was unmistakably alien. Yet somehow, she possessed a kind of beauty that transcended species entirely. There was confidence in the way she carried herself, intelligence in her eyes, a quiet dignity that commanded attention without demanding it. Marcus quickly looked away, hoping nobody had noticed him staring. Ambassador Harrison rose to greet the delegation as the Zephyrians took their places across the chamber. Marcus settled into his seat near the back, trying desperately to appear calm, while his pulse felt determined to escape through his throat. This wasn't just another diplomatic conference. This was first contact. The kind of moment that would appear in history books centuries from now. A moment he would be able to tell future generations he had witnessed with his own eyes. The room fell silent. Princess Lyra stood. The silver scales along her skin shimmered softly beneath the chamber lights as she surveyed the human delegation. Then she smiled. A small gesture. Simple. Warm, yet somehow powerful enough to ease the tension in the room. "We welcome humanity to the greater galaxy," she said through her translator. And in that moment, Marcus realized humanity had just stopped being alone in the universe. Her voice sounded like music, even through the electronic device. "The Zephyrian Empire hopes for a long friendship between our peoples." Ambassador Harrison smiled and nodded. "Earth is honored by your welcome, Your Highness. We hope to learn much from your advanced civilization." The talks went well for the first hour. Both sides were being very polite, very careful. Marcus started to relax a little. Maybe this would go smoothly after all. That was when the serving robots brought in the ceremonial drinks. Marcus knew about Zaharian customs from his studies. The sharing of drinks was important to them, a sign of trust and friendship. The robot placed a crystal cup in front of each person at the table. The liquid inside was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. Princess Lyra lifted her cup first. "To new friendships across the stars," she said. Everyone else lifted their cups. Marcus was not supposed to drink since he was not part of the official delegation, but he watched as Ambassador Harrison and the other humans prepared to take a sip. Something was wrong. Marcus could not say exactly what made him notice it. Maybe it was his training as a scientist, always looking for small details. Maybe it was just luck, but he saw something that made his blood turn cold. There was a tiny drop of different colored liquid on the rim of Princess Lyra's cup. It was so small that anyone else would have missed it. But Marcus had spent years looking at samples under microscopes. He knew what he was seeing. The princess was about to drink poison. Marcus did not think. He just moved. He jumped up from his chair and lunged across the table. His hand knocked the cup from Princess Lyra's grip, just as it touched her lips. The crystal shattered on the floor, spreading the glowing liquid everywhere. "Poison!" Marcus shouted. "Don't drink anything." The room exploded into chaos. Zephyrian guards appeared from nowhere, their weapons drawn. The human security team was reaching for their guns. Princess Lyra was staring at Marcus with her huge dark eyes, looking shocked and confused. "Wait," Ambassador Harrison shouted. "Dr. Chen, what are you doing?" Marcus was already kneeling on the floor, looking at the spilled liquid. His portable scanner was in his hands, beeping as it analyzed the substance. The readout made his stomach drop. "Zerthane compound," he said, his voice shaking. "It's designed to kill Zephyrians, specifically attacks their nervous system in seconds." One of the Zahirian guards spoke rapidly in their own language. Princess Lyra answered, then looked at Marcus. You saved my life," she said slowly. But Marcus was not listening anymore. He was looking at his scanner and thinking fast. The poison was still active on the floor, still dangerous. Worse, some of it had splashed on his hands when he knocked the cup away. He could feel a tingling sensation starting in his fingers. His mind raced through everything he knew about human biology compared to Zephyrian biology. Humans and Zephyrians were different in many ways, but one difference might be important right now. Human livers were much stronger than Zephyrian livers. Humans could process toxins that would kill other species. "The poison is still active," Marcus said, looking around the room. "It could hurt anyone who touches it." That was when he made the decision that would change his life forever. Marcus pressed his hands down into the largest puddle of spilled poison. "Dr. Chen, no!" Ambassador Harrison screamed, but Marcus was not stopping. He rubbed the poison into his skin, absorbing as much as he could. The tingling sensation spread up his arms and into his chest. His heart started beating faster, and he felt dizzy. "Human physiology can process this toxin," he said, even though speaking was getting harder. "Better that it goes into me than stays in the environment where it could hurt someone else." The last thing Marcus saw before he collapsed was Princess Lyrelli's face. She was staring at him with an expression he could not read. Wonder, confusion, horror, all three. When Marcus woke up, he was in a medical bay, but not one he recognized. The walls were smooth and white, and there were strange machines around his bed that hummed softly. A tube was connected to his arm, and he felt weak all over. "You are awake," said a voice. Marcus turned his head, which hurt more than it should have. Princess Lyra was sitting in a chair next to his bed. She looked tired, and her silver skin seemed less bright than before. "How long?" Marcus asked. His voice came out as a whisper. 6 days, she said. "The doctors were not sure you would survive. The amount of poison you absorbed should have killed any creature." Marcus tried to sit up, but his body would not cooperate. "The others, are they safe?" "Everyone is safe." Princess Leroy said the poison came from a group that wants to stop humans and Zephyrians from becoming friends. "They have been arrested." She leaned forward in her chair. "Why did you do it? You barely know me. You risked your life for someone from a different world." Marcus thought about that question. He was still too weak to think clearly, but he tried to answer honestly. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said finally. "Because you were in danger and I could help." Princess Lyra stared at him for a long moment. "In all of Zephyrian history, no member of another species has ever done such a thing for one of us. My people are amazed." "I just did what anyone would do," Marcus said. "No," Princess Leal said softly. "You did what a human would do, and that makes all the difference." Outside the medical bay window, Marcus could see stars he did not recognize. He was far from Earth now, in a place where humans had never been before. But somehow, lying in this alien hospital bed, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. The princess stayed with him until he fell asleep again, and in his dreams, Marcus saw those huge dark eyes watching over him, with something that might have been the beginning of understanding between two very different worlds. Marcus spent the next 3 weeks in the Zephyrian medical facility. Every day brought small improvements. His strength came back slowly, and the strange tingling in his hands finally went away. But something had changed inside him that the doctors found very interesting. "Your immune system has adapted," Dr. Velith, the chief Zephyrian physician, explained during one of Marcus's daily examinations. Dr. Velith looked like Princess Lyra, but older with silver skin that had tiny wrinkles around the eyes. "The poison should have killed you, but instead, your body learned to fight it. Now you are resistant to most biological weapons that affect Zephyrians." Marcus sat on the edge of the medical bed looking at his hands. They looked the same as always, but he knew they were different. "Now, humans?" he asked. "We do not know," Dr. Velith said honestly. "You are the first human we have studied this closely. Your species is remarkable. Princess Lyra visited Marcus every day. At first, she came with guards, and only stayed for a few minutes. But as the days passed, she came alone, and stayed longer. She seemed genuinely curious about humans, and asked Marcus hundreds of questions. "On your world, do many people risk their lives for strangers?" she asked one afternoon. Marcus thought about it while looking out the window at the Zephyrian city below. The buildings were tall and graceful, like frozen waterfalls made of metal and glass. "Some do," he said. "We have firefighters and police officers and soldiers. People who choose jobs where they might have to risk their lives to help others. But you are a scientist," Princess Lyra said. "You did not choose such a job. I guess when the moment came, it just felt like the only choice I could make." Marcus said, "I couldn't let you die when I might be able to prevent it." Princess Lyra was quiet for a long time. "In Zephyrian society, we are taught to protect our own family and our own house above all else. The idea of risking everything for someone you just met is difficult for us to understand. What about helping people in general? Don't Girians help each other within our houses?" "Yes, and sometimes houses work together when they have the same interests. But risking your life for someone from a completely different species," she shook her head. "This is not something we know how to do." Their conversations taught Marcus a lot about Zephyrian culture. They lived in groups called houses, almost like very large families. Each house competed with the others for resources and influence. The royal family kept peace between the houses, but it was always a careful balance. "It sounds lonely," Marcus said one day. "Lonely?" Princess Lyra looked confused. "We are never alone. We are always with our house. But what if you want to be friends with someone from a different house? That would be unusual," she said, "and possibly dangerous." As Marcus got stronger, he started to understand why his actions had caused such a stir in Zephyrian society. By saving Princess Lyra, he had done something that made no sense according to their way of thinking. A human with no connection to her house, no reason to care about her personally, had risked everything to save her. It was like he had broken one of the basic rules of how the universe worked. During his 4th week in the medical facility, Princess Lyra came to visit, with news that made Marcus's stomach sink. "The investigation into the poisoning has revealed something troubling," she said, sitting in her usual chair next to his bed. "The group that tried to kill me was not working alone." "What do you mean?" "They were hired by someone else. Someone who wants to prevent humans and Zephyrians from becoming allies." Princess Lily looked worried. "We have arrested the ones who carried out the attack, but we do not know who paid them." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Do you think they'll try again?" "It is possible. My mother, the Queen, is increasing security around all the diplomatic meetings. But Marcus," she leaned forward, "I think you are still in danger too." "Me? Why would they want to hurt me?" "Because you saved me. Because your actions have made many Zephyrians think differently about humans. Some people do not want that to happen." That night, Marcus lay in his hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. He had thought the hard part was over. He had survived the poison. He was getting better, and soon he would be able to go back to his normal life as a scientist. But it seemed like his problems were just beginning. The next morning, Princess Lily came back with a proposal that surprised him. "I want you to help me find out who is behind the assassination attempt," she said. "I'm not a detective," Marcus protested. "I'm a biologist. But you notice things that others miss. You saw the poison on my cup when no one else did. And now that your body has adapted to Zephyrian biotechnology, you might be able to go places and do things that others cannot." Marcus thought about it. Part of him wanted to say no, to go back to his safe life studying alien plants and writing research papers. But another part of him knew that Princess Lyra was right. If someone was trying to stop humans and Zephyrians from becoming friends, they would probably try again, and next time, Marcus might not be there to help. "What would I have to do?" he asked. "Work with me to investigate. Use your human skills and your new resistance to our biological weapons to help us uncover the truth. And if we find out who's behind this," Princess Liali's dark eyes grew hard, "then we stop them." Marcus spent the rest of the day thinking about her offer. Dr. Velith said he was healthy enough to leave the medical facility. But where would he go? Back to the diplomatic ship? Back to Earth? Neither option felt right anymore. That evening, as he watched the sun set over the alien city outside his window, Marcus made his decision. He had already risked his life once for Princess Lyra. If there were people out there trying to hurt her, and prevent peace between their species, then maybe it was time to risk his life again. When Princess Lyrae came to visit the next morning, Marcus was sitting up in bed, fully dressed and ready to go. "I'll help you," he said simply. She smiled, and for the first time since he had known her, she looked truly happy. "Thank you, Marcus. I promise you will not regret this decision." As they left the medical facility together, Marcus hoped she was right. But deep down, he had a feeling that the easy part of his adventure was over, and the really dangerous part was just beginning. The city outside was full of Zephyrians going about their daily lives, unaware that a human and a princess were about to start hunting for enemies who wanted to destroy the peace between worlds. Marcus felt nervous, but also excited. For the first time in his life, he was doing something that really mattered, and despite the danger ahead, he had never felt more alive. The investigation started in the lower levels of the Zephyrian capital city. Princess Lyrae led Marcus through narrow streets where the buildings were older and the lights were dimmer. The air here smelled different, sharper, and more metallic than in the clean medical facility where Marcus had spent the last month. "The assassins came from this district," Princess Lyra explained as they walked. She had changed from her royal robes into simple dark clothing, but Marcus thought she still looked obviously important. "They belonged to a group called the Silent Blade." "Criminals?" Marcus asked. "Worse. They are hired killers who work for anyone willing to pay enough. The police arrested 3 of them, but the others escaped." She stopped in front of a building that looked abandoned. This was their base. Marcus looked up at the dark windows. "Shouldn't we have guards with us?" "Guards would be noticed. If we want to find out who hired the Silent Blade, we need to be careful." Princess Leroy pulled out a small device that looked like a key. "Besides, you are my protection now. I'm still just a scientist," Marcus said nervously. "You are a scientist who survived enough poison to kill 20 Zephyrians," she replied. "And your human unpredictability makes you more dangerous than any guard." They entered the building through a side door. Inside, everything was dark and dusty. Marcus's eyes adjusted slowly to the dim light coming through broken windows. The place felt abandoned, but not recently. There were signs that people had lived here for a long time before leaving suddenly. Princess Lyra moved through the rooms like she knew what she was looking for. Marcus followed, trying to stay quiet. His human eyes were not as good as Zephyrian eyes in the dark, but he could see well enough to avoid bumping into things. "Here," Princess Lyra whispered, stopping in front of a wall that looked the same as all the others. She pressed her device against the wall, and a hidden panel slid open. Behind it was a small room filled with weapons and communication equipment. Marcus whistled softly, which made Princess Leroy look at him curiously. "Sorry," he said. "Humans whistle when we're impressed or surprised." They searched the hidden room carefully. Most of the equipment was turned off, but Princess Lily said was able to activate one of the communication devices. She worked with it for several minutes, while Marcus examined the weapons. They were unlike anything he had seen before, designed to kill silently and efficiently. "Marcus," Princess Lily said urgently, "look at this." On the communication device's screen was a list of messages. Most were in Zephyrian, but Marcus could read them through his translator. They were instructions for the assassination, but more importantly, they were orders for future attacks. "They're planning to kill more people," Marcus said, reading over her shoulder. "Yes, and not just Zephyrians. Look at this list." Marcus felt his blood turn cold. The list included the names of several human diplomats, including Ambassador Harrison. But what made it even worse was the signature at the bottom of the messages. It was not from any Zephyrian house that Marcus recognized. "What is the Hegemony Council?" he asked. Princess Leal's face went pale. "I was hoping I would never hear that name again," she said quietly. "You know them. Stories, legends. The Hegemony Council is supposed to be a group that controls things in secret across many different worlds and species. Most people think they are just a myth, but you don't think they're a myth. Not anymore." Princess Lyrae copied the information from the communication device onto her own equipment. "If the Hegemony Council is real, and if they are behind the attempts to stop human alliance, then we are in much more danger than I thought." A sound from outside made them both freeze, footsteps coming closer to the building. Princess Lyrae quickly shut down the communication device and motioned for Marcus to follow her toward a different exit. They almost made it. The Silent Blade assassins who had returned to their base were professionals. They moved silently and surrounded the building before Marcus and Princess Lyrae realized they were there. When the attack came, It was fast and coordinated. Marcus found himself facing 3 Zephyrium killers in the main room, while Princess Lerai really fought 2 others near the entrance. The assassins were armed with weapons that shot darts, probably poisoned. Marcus had no weapons except his bare hands and his human stubbornness. The first assassin shot at Marcus from across the room. Marcus threw himself sideways, and the dart buried itself in the wall where he had been standing. He could smell the sharp scent of poison coming from it. The second assassin tried to get close enough to stab Marcus with a knife, but Marcus had grown up playing sports, and his human reflexes were faster than the assassin expected. He grabbed the assassin's wrist and twisted, just like he had learned in the self-defense classes his mother had made him take years ago. The knife clattered to the floor. The assassin hissed something in Zephyrian that Marcus's translator refused to repeat, but he got the general idea. The third assassin shot another dart at Marcus. This time, Marcus could not dodge completely. The dart grazed his arm, tearing his shirt and cutting his skin. Poison entered his bloodstream, but instead of collapsing, Marcus just felt a slight burning sensation. The assassin looked shocked. "Impossible," she said in accented English. "That dart contained enough toxin to kill an entire family." "Yeah, well," Marcus said, advancing toward her. "Humans are full of surprises." By the time Marcus had dealt with his 3 attackers, Princess Lerai had finished with hers. She looked amazed as she stared at Marcus. "You are bleeding," she said. Marcus looked down at his arm. The cut was not deep, but it was definitely bleeding. "I'm okay. The poison didn't affect me much." "Much, Marcus. That dart contained concentrated zerathane, the same poison from the cup, but 10 times stronger. It should have killed you instantly." Marcus felt dizzy for a moment, but it passed quickly. "I guess my body really has adapted." They left the building quickly, taking the information they had found. But as they walked back toward the upper levels of the city, Marcus could not shake the feeling that they were still being watched. "Princess," he said quietly, "I think we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where someone has been following us for the last 6 blocks. Princess Lyra did not look around, but Marcus could see her body tense. "How many?" "2, I think. Maybe 3. They're good at staying hidden, but humans are good at noticing when we're being hunted. Another gift from your evolution." "Something like that." They turned a corner into a narrow alley. Princess Lyra pressed herself against the wall and pulled out a small weapon. Marcus positioned himself on the other side of the alley entrance. "When they come around the corner," Princess Lyra whispered, "I will handle the ones on the left. Can you manage the ones on the right?" Marcus thought about the 3 assassins he had just fought. His arm still hurt where the dart had cut him, and he was not sure how many more times he could rely on his poison resistance to save him. "I'll figure something out," he said. The footsteps were getting closer. Marcus could hear at least 2 sets moving carefully but steadily toward their hiding place. His heart was beating fast, but his mind felt strangely calm. A few weeks ago, he had been a quiet scientist who spent his days looking at plant samples. Now he was hiding in an alien alley, preparing to fight trained killers. The strange thing was, he was not scared. Nervous, yes, but not scared. Maybe Princess Lerai was right. Maybe humans were more dangerous than anyone expected. The first assassin appeared at the mouth of the alley. Marcus did not wait to see how many others were behind him. He charged. The fight in the alley was over quickly, but it left Marcus with more questions than answers. The assassins they captured were not members of the Silent Blade. They were something else entirely, with equipment that was far more advanced than anything Marcus had seen before. "Hegemony Council agents," Princess Leia said grimly, as they handed the prisoners over to the royal guard. "This confirms our worst fears." Back in the safety of the royal palace, Marcus sat in a chair that was too big for him, while Princess Lyra's advisors argued in rapid Zephyrian. His arm had been treated by the palace doctors, and the poison was completely out of his system, but he felt exhausted. "What are they saying?" he asked Princess Lyra during a brief pause in the discussion. "They are debating whether to tell my mother, the queen, about what we discovered. Some think the Hegemony Council is too dangerous to fight. They want to end the alliance with humanity to avoid making the council angry." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "And what do you think?" "I think that would be exactly what the council wants. If we give up now, they win without having to fight us." One of the advisors, an elderly Zephyrian with skin that had turned almost white with age, spoke directly to Princess Lyra. Marcus could not understand the words, but the tone was clearly a warning. Lord Cathril says that humans have brought nothing but trouble to our world. Princess Lally translated. He says, your people are too unpredictable, too willing to take risks that endanger everyone around them. What did you tell him? Princess Lai smiled grimly. I told him that unpredictability and risk-taking are exactly what we need if we want to defeat the Hegemony Council. The argument continued for hours. Marcus listened through his translator as the advisors debated the future of human-Zapparian relations. Some supported Princess Lyra's position, but others were clearly afraid of what the Hegemony Council might do if they continued to defy them. Finally, Queen Morvain herself entered the chamber. She was taller than Princess Lally, and moved with the kind of authority that made everyone else seem small. When she spoke, everyone else stopped talking and listened. Dr. Chen, she said, looking directly at Marcus. My daughter tells me that you have helped uncover a conspiracy that threatens not just our alliance, but the stability of our entire region of space. Marcus stood up, not sure if he was supposed to bow or salute or what. Yes, Your Majesty. We found evidence that the Hegemony Council is behind the assassination attempts. And what do you think we should do about this information? Marcus hesitated. He was just a scientist. He was not qualified to give advice to alien royalty about galactic politics. But Queen Morvain was waiting for an answer, and Princess Lyra was looking at him expectantly. I think we need to tell everyone, Marcus said finally. Not just Zapparians, but all the species in this part of the galaxy. If the Hegemony Council has been controlling things in secret for so long, maybe it's time to expose them. Lord Cathil made a sound that Marcus's translator rendered as foolish human nonsense, but Queen Morvain looked thoughtful. Expose them? How? We have some evidence, but not enough to convince the other species. They would need proof that could not be denied. What if we could get that proof? Marcus asked. How? Marcus took a deep breath. He had been thinking about this during the long argument, and he had an idea that terrified him. The Hegemony Council agents we captured today. They would have information in their minds about who they work for, their plans, maybe even the locations of other council operations. Yes, but they will never tell us willingly, Princess Leroy said. What about unwillingly? Marcus asked quietly. The room went very still. Queen Morvain studied Marcus's face carefully. You are suggesting a mind probe, she said. Marcus nodded. I know it's dangerous. I know it's usually only used on criminals who are about to be executed anyway, but if we could extract the information and broadcast it across the galaxy. A mind probe would destroy the subject's brain, Lord Cathil protested. Even if they survived the process, they would be permanently damaged. I know, Marcus said. That's why I think I should be the one to do it. The silence that followed was so complete that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Princess Lyra was staring at him with an expression of horror. Marcus, no, she said. A mind probe on a human has never been attempted. We do not know what it would do to you. That's exactly why it might work, Marcus replied. Human brains are different from Zaphirian brains. More flexible, more adaptable. If anyone could survive a mind probe designed for Zaphirians, it would be a human. Queen Morvain leaned forward in her chair. Even if you survived, the damage could be severe. Loss of memory, impaired thinking, permanent personality changes. You could become a completely different person. Marcus thought about that. It was a terrifying prospect, but he also thought about Ambassador Harrison and the other humans whose names had been on the assassination list. He thought about Princess Lyra, who had become his friend, despite coming from a completely different world. He thought about the chance for peace between species that might be lost if the Hegemony Council succeeded in their plans. Sometimes the right choice is not the safe choice, he said. Princess Larole grabbed his hand. There has to be another way. What other way? We can try to gather more evidence slowly. But how many people will the Council kill while we're doing that? This might be our only chance to stop them. The debate that followed was intense. Marcus sat quietly while the Zaphirians argued about whether his plan was brilliant or insane. He was starting to think it might be both. In the end, it was Queen Morvain who made the decision. Dr. Chen, I cannot order you to do this. The risk is too great, and you are not one of my subjects. But if you choose to undergo the mind probe voluntarily, we will honor your sacrifice. Marcus looked around the room at all the faces watching him. Some looked hopeful, others looked afraid. Princess Lyra still looked horrified, but she was not trying to stop him anymore. When? Marcus asked. Tomorrow, Queen Morvain said. We will need time to prepare the equipment and to set up the broadcast system. If you succeed in extracting the information, we want to make sure that every species in the galaxy hears it. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He walked through the palace gardens, looking up at the alien stars and thinking about what he was about to do. Princess Lerai found him there just before dawn. "You do not have to do this," she said, sitting beside him on a bench carved from blue stone. "I know." "Then why?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "Do you remember when you asked me why I saved you from the poison? I said it was because it was the right thing to do." "Yes. This feels the same way. I can't explain it better than that." Princess Leary looked up at the lightning sky. "Humans are very strange," she said softly. "Yeah," Marcus agreed. "We really are." When the sun rose over the Zephyrian capital, Marcus was ready. The mind probe equipment had been set up in the palace's main communication center, surrounded by technicians and doctors. The captured HFY council agent was brought in under heavy guard, his mind already prepared for the connection. Marcus lay down on the examination table and let the technicians attach the neural interface to his head. Princess Lyra held his hand while the doctors made final adjustments to the equipment. "Are you ready?" Queen Morvain asked. Marcus looked at Princess Lyra one last time, memorizing her face in case he forgot it in a few minutes. "I'm ready." The mind probe activated, and Marcus's world exploded into light and pain and memories that were not his own. He felt his consciousness diving deep into the alien mind of the Hegemony Council agent, searching for the secrets that would save the galaxy. The last thing he remembered thinking was that he hoped it would be worth it. Marcus woke up to the sound of someone crying. He tried to open his eyes, but the light was too bright. Everything felt wrong. His body was not responding properly, and his thoughts moved slowly, like swimming through thick liquid. When he tried to remember where he was, he found mostly empty spaces in his mind. "Marcus." The voice belonged to a woman, but he could not remember who she was. "Can you hear me?" Marcus managed to make a sound that might have been, "Yes." The woman leaning over him had silver skin and large dark eyes. She looked familiar, but he could not place her face. "Do you know who I am?" she asked gently. Marcus tried to think. Images flashed through his damaged mind. A crystal cup falling to the floor, poison burning in his veins, fighting in dark alleys, a machine that had torn his thoughts apart and put them back together wrong. "Princess," he said finally. The word felt strange in his mouth, like he was speaking a language he had almost forgotten. Princess Lyrai smiled, but tears were still running down her face. "Yes, I am Princess Lyrai. Do you remember your name?" "Marcus," he said after a long pause. "Marcus Chen. I was a scientist." "You still are," Princess Leroy said. "You are still Marcus Chen, and you are still the bravest person I have ever known." Slowly, pieces of memory began to come back. The mind probe had worked. Marcus had extracted the information from the Hegemony Council agent's mind and broadcast it across the galaxy. The evidence had been overwhelming. Thousands of species had learned that they had been manipulated and controlled for centuries by a secret organization that cared nothing for their freedom or their lives. The revelation had sparked revolutions on dozens of worlds. The Hegemony Council's power structure had collapsed almost overnight. But the price had been Marcus's mind. "How long?" Marcus asked. 6 months, Princess Lai said softly. "You have been in and out of consciousness for 6 months. The doctors were not sure you would ever wake up properly." Marcus tried to sit up, but his body would not cooperate. Simple movements that should have been automatic required enormous effort and concentration. Did it work? Did we stop them? Yes, the Hegemony Council is finished. Their agents have been arrested or have fled to the outer rim of the galaxy. The species they controlled are free. "Good," Marcus said and meant it. Even in his damaged state, he could feel satisfaction at that news. Over the following days, Marcus learned more about what had happened while he was unconscious. The human diplomatic mission had wanted to take him back to Earth for treatment, but Princess Lai had refused to let them. "Why?" Marcus asked during one of his therapy sessions. He was trying to relearn how to use his hands properly. Simple tasks like holding a cup or writing his name were incredibly difficult now. "Because you suffered for us," Princess Lyra said. "You gave your mind to save not just Zarians, but everyone in the galaxy. By our ancient laws of honor, that makes you our responsibility." Marcus was not sure he understood, but he was too tired to argue. The therapy was exhausting, and his damaged brain could only handle small amounts of information at a time. 3 weeks later, Queen Morvain came to visit him in the medical facility. Marcus was able to sit up in bed now and could speak for longer periods without getting confused. "Dr. Chen," Queen Morvain said, "I have something important to tell you." Marcus tried to focus on her words. Concentration was still difficult for him. "The human government has asked us to return you to Earth for continued treatment. They believe their doctors might be able to help you recover more fully." "Do you want me to go?" Marcus asked. Queen Morvain was quiet for a moment. "What I want is not important. What matters is what is best for you. Then tell me what you really think." The Queen smiled slightly. "I think you have given more to our people than we could ever repay. I think you deserve to choose where you want to spend your recovery." Marcus thought about it as carefully as his damaged mind would allow. Earth meant familiar doctors and familiar foods, and people who spoke his native language. But it also meant being treated like a victim, someone to be pied and cared for. Here on the Zephyrian homeworld, he was treated like a hero. "I want to stay," Marcus said finally. Queen Morvain nodded, as if she had expected that answer. "Then you will stay, but not as a patient." She gestured, and Princess Larry entered the room, carrying an ornate box made of the same blue stone as the palace gardens. "Marcus Chen," Queen Morvain said formally, "by the ancient laws of Xerian honor, you have earned a place in our family. You suffered for us. You bled for us. You gave your mind for our freedom, and the freedom of countless others across the galaxy." Princess literally opened the box, revealing a medallion on a silver chain. The medallion was carved with symbols that Marcus did not recognize but somehow understood. "Therefore," Queen Morvain continued, "I declare that you are ours to protect as you have protected us. You are granted permanent sanctuary in the Zephyrian Empire, with all the rights and privileges of an adopted member of the royal house." Marcus stared at the medallion. "I don't understand." "It means you are family now," Princess Lily said, placing the chain around his neck. "It means we will take care of you as long as you need us to. But I'm human." "Yes," Queen Morvain said, "and that makes you special. You have shown us things about courage and sacrifice that we never knew were possible. Your species has taught us that family can extend beyond blood, beyond species, even beyond worlds." As news of Marcus's adoption spread throughout the Zephyrian Empire, something unexpected happened. Other species began asking questions about humans. What kind of people would risk everything for strangers? What kind of civilization produced individuals willing to sacrifice their minds for galactic freedom? Diplomatic missions from dozens of worlds requested meetings with human representatives. Trade agreements and research partnerships were proposed. For the first time in galactic history, a species was famous, not for their weapons or their wealth, but for their compassion. Marcus learned about these developments during his daily therapy sessions. His memory was slowly improving, and his motor functions were getting better week by week. The Zephyrian doctors were amazed by his progress. "Human neuroplasticity is remarkable," Dr. Velith explained during one of Marcus's examinations. "Your brain is actually rewiring itself to work around the damaged areas. We have never seen anything like it. Will I ever be normal again?" Marcus asked. Dr. Velith considered the question carefully. "You will never be exactly the same as you were before the mind probe. But normal? I think you stopped being normal the moment you chose to save Princess Lyra's life." 6 months after waking up, Marcus was able to walk in the palace gardens without assistance. Princess Lyra often joined him for these walks, and they would sit on the blue stone bench where they had talked before the mind probe. "Do you regret it?" she asked one evening, as they watched the alien sunset paint the sky in colors that had no names in human languages. Marcus thought about the question. His life was completely different now. He would never be the quiet scientist he had been before. His memory was still patchy, and he tired easily. But when he looked around at the peaceful garden, and remembered that his sacrifice had helped free billions of beings across the galaxy, regret was not what he felt. "No," he said, "I don't regret it, even though it cost you so much." Marcus looked at Princess Lally, who had become his closest friend in the universe. He thought about Queen Morvain, who treated him like a son. He thought about the Zephyrian medical staff, who worked tirelessly to help him recover. He thought about the news reports that told a former hegemony world celebrating their newfound freedom. "I lost some things," Marcus said, "but I gained others." Princess Lyra smiled. "What did you gain?" Marcus gestured toward the palace, the gardens, the city beyond. "A family, a purpose." The knowledge that sometimes the right choice and the safe choice are different things, and that's okay. As the stars came out in the alien sky, Marcus felt a peace that he had never known before his injury. He was not the same person who had knocked a poison cup out of a princess's hand months ago. But maybe that was not such a bad thing. In the distance, he could see ships launching from the spaceport. Some of them carried human diplomats heading to meetings with species who wanted to learn more about the strange, selfless creatures from Earth. Others carried Zephyran ambassadors going to worlds that had never known freedom, until a human scientist had sacrificed his mind to give it to them. Marcus closed his eyes and listened to the sounds of the garden around him. Somewhere in the galaxy, former slaves were learning to make their own choices. Former prisoners were walking free. Former enemies were becoming friends. It had been worth it. Princess Leroy took his hand as they sat together in the growing darkness. "Thank you, Marcus," she said quietly. "For what?" "For showing us what it means to be truly brave." Marcus squeezed her hand gently and smiled. Tomorrow would bring more therapy, more slow progress toward recovery. But tonight, sitting in an alien garden with a friend who had become family, he was exactly where he belonged. And for the first time since waking up with a damaged mind, Marcus Chen felt completely whole.